Hello there. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me today. For decades it's the dream, isn't it? That final Friday, you pack up your desk, you shake hands, maybe there's a small party, some cake in the break room, and then you walk out that door for the last time, into the golden sunset of retirement. No more alarms, no more commutes, no more sitting in endless meetings. Just open days, stretching out in front of you, a blank canvas to paint however you wish. It's the reward. It's what you've worked for, saved for and planned for 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. But what if I told you that for millions of people, this dream, well, it turns into something else, something unsettling? What happens when the novelty of waking up at 8 a.m. wears off? What happens when you've organised the garage, caught up on your reading list and played a few rounds of golf, and you find yourself looking at the clock at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the day just feels empty? This, right here, is the terrifying truth about retirement that nobody likes to talk about. We spend all our time planning financially for retirement, making sure our money will last. But we spend almost no time planning emotionally and psychologically for it. We plan for what we're retiring from, but not what we're retiring to. The result? For so many, retirement doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a loss of routine, a loss of the social connections you had at work, and the most frightening one of all, a loss of identity, a loss of purpose. And that feeling of purposelessness. It's not just a little bit of boredom, it's dangerous. Studies have shown that retiring without a strong sense of purpose is linked to a faster decline in both physical and mental health. It's linked to higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even cognitive decline. It's as if the mind and body say, well, if I'm not needed anymore, I guess I'll just slow down. That's the terrifying truth. But please, hear me when I say this. I am not here to scare you. I am here to prepare you. I'm here to arm you. Because it doesn't have to be this way. Your third act, these years after 60, can genuinely be the most vibrant, meaningful, and joyful time of your entire life. But it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. So in this video, we are going to talk about exactly that. We're going to walk through, step by step, how to find your purpose before it feels too late. How to build a life in retirement that is so full of meaning that you'll wonder how you ever had time for a job in the first place. Are you ready? Let's begin. The very first step, the one we have to take before all others, is simply to acknowledge the shock. I call it the retirement void. For your entire adult life, your job has been the scaffolding that holds your days together. Think about it. It told you when to wake up. It told you where to be. It gave you problems to solve, which kept your brain sharp. It gave you colleagues to talk to laugh with, to complain with. Even if you didn't love your job, it gave you a reason to get out of bed. Then you retire. And that scaffolding, it's gone. Overnight, it's an abrupt total change to the rhythm of your life, and it's a shock to the system. I spoke to a gentleman recently, a former executive, who told me that the first Monday of his retirement was the strangest day of his life. His wife was still working, his kids were grown, the house was silent. He said he felt like a ghost, just floating. He had all the freedom in the world, but he had no idea what to do with it. That feeling is normal. It is not a sign that you are failing at retirement. It is a sign that you are human. You have just left a major defining chapter of your life. It is supposed to feel strange. So the first thing you must do is give yourself grace. Acknowledge the void. Name it. Talk about it with your spouse, your friends, your family. Don't pretend you're on a permanent vacation, because you're not. You're in a transition, and transitions are hard. But you can't just stay in that void. Acknowledging it is step one. Step two is figuring out why that void feels so vast and so personal. This brings us to the most critical part of this journey, the great identity heist. For decades, when you met someone new, what was one of the first questions they asked? So, what do you do? And you had an answer. I'm a teacher. I'm a carpenter. I'm an accountant. I'm a nurse. That title, that one-word answer, became a shortcut for who you are. It told people your skills, your education, your place in the world. And over time, we all make a very subtle, very dangerous mistake. We stop seeing it as what we do, and we start seeing it as who we are. And then, you retire. Now when someone asks, what do you do? Your answer is, I'm retired. Think about what that feels like. It feels like the end of the story. It feels like you're saying, I used to be something, but now I'm not. It's a passive word. It defines you by what you don't do anymore. This is the identity heist. Your career, which gave you so much, has also quietly stolen your sense of self. The truth is, retired is not an identity. It is a status. It's just like student. When you were 20, you might have been a student. That was your status. But your identity was curious, ambitious, a good friend, a history buff. You didn't cease to be you when you graduated. You just changed your status. Retirement is exactly the same. You're not a retired teacher. You are a teacher. You are a mentor. You are a patient, compassionate person who knows how to explain complex ideas. You're just not doing it in a classroom from 9 to 5 anymore. You are not a retired engineer. You are a problem solver. You are a precise, analytical thinker who knows how to build things. Do you see the shift? Your job was just one vehicle for your identity. It was not the identity itself. So here is your first piece of homework, and it's the most important one. I want you to take out a clean sheet of paper, and at the top I want you to write I am, and I want you to list at least 10 things that you are without ever using your old job title. Are you a great listener, a patient gardener, a loving grandparent, a storyteller, a neighborhood historian, a skilled woodworker, a lifelong learner, a person of faith, a mentor? This is not about what you did for money. This is about your qualities, your passions, and your character. This is the real you that was there all along, underneath the job title. This exercise is the foundation, because you cannot build a purposeful second act until you know who the main character is. You have to reclaim your identity from your career. This process of rediscovering who you are, separate from what you did for a paycheck, is the most important groundwork you can possibly lay. It's about rebuilding your foundation. But once you have that new, stronger foundation, you need to build something on it. It's not quite enough to just know who you are. You have to act on it. This is where we move from identity to action, from being to doing in a new, meaningful way. And the next big question we have to tackle is, Daimyas, how do you want to spend your time? And even more importantly, how do you want to feel? Because that list you made, that I am list, that is your new treasure map. The items on that list are the clues to your purpose. If you wrote, I am a patient teacher, or I am a good listener, or I am a skilled woodworker, the next step is to find a new, meaningful way to use those gifts. But before you can decide what to do, you have to rebuild that scaffolding we talked about, the one your job used to provide. Now, one of the biggest traps we fall into is thinking the ultimate goal is to have nothing to do, that the paradise of retirement is a completely blank calendar. For the first week, that's a vacation. For the first month, it's still pretty nice. But after 6 months, or a year, a blank calendar can feel less like freedom and more like a desert. The truth is, as human beings, we are built for rhythm. We thrive on structure. We need a reason to get up, and we need things that pull us through our days. The solution isn't to go back to a 9 to 5 grind. The solution is to create a structure that you control, one that serves you, not a boss. This is your new scaffolding. It doesn't have to be rigid. It can be wonderfully flexible, but it needs to exist. Maybe it's simple. On Mondays, I go to the gym and have coffee with my friend. On Tuesdays, I watch the grandkids. On Wednesdays, I work in my garden or volunteer at the library. On Thursdays, I take that art class I've always wanted to take. Just having that simple, gentle rhythm can be the single biggest factor in pulling you out of that retirement void. It gives your days shape again. It gives you back a sense of control and forward momentum. So how do we fill that new structure? This is where we find our purpose. And it generally comes from 2 places, growth and contribution. Let's start with something that might feel a little selfish, in the best possible way. It's about you. It's about growth. For 40 years, most of your learning was probably job-related, right? You learned a new computer program to be more efficient. You took a seminar to be a better manager. It was learning for work. Now is your time. What did you always want to do? I mean, really want to do? Did you want to learn to play the guitar, paint with watercolors, speak Italian, finally understand all that history you find so fascinating? There's a little voice in our heads that sometimes whispers, "Oh, I'm too old to start that now. What's the point?" What a load of nonsense. Your brain is craving new challenges. It is practically begging you to learn something new. Scientists call it neuroplasticity. It's the brain's ability to forge new connections and pathways at any age. Learning something new is like taking your brain to the gym. It builds new muscle. It keeps you sharp, engaged, flexible, and, well, it's fun. This isn't about becoming a world-class expert. It's about the process. It's about the joy of being a beginner again. It's incredibly humbling and at the same time incredibly exciting. Go to your local community college, or even just look on YouTube. You can learn anything for free. This is your time to feed your curiosity. But while learning new things feeds your mind, the deepest, most lasting sense of purpose almost always comes from one place: feeding your soul. And that happens when we stop focusing on me and start focusing on we. It comes from contribution. Let me tell you something I am absolutely certain of. After 60, 70, or 80 years on this planet, you have acquired an incredible, profound, and unique library of wisdom, skills, and experience. You have weathered storms, you have solved problems, you have learned things the hard way, and I promise you, someone needs that wisdom. Someone, right now, in your community, is struggling with a problem you solved 20 years ago. This is where we find true, lasting purpose. It's in giving it away. Now, when I say contribution, many people jump straight to volunteering, and that is a fantastic option. You could volunteer at the local hospital, the animal shelter, the food bank, the library. These places run on the generosity of people just like you, but it goes so much deeper than that. Let's go back to that I am list. Are you that retired teacher I mentioned earlier? You are a mentor. Maybe you can volunteer just 2 hours a week to read to children at the library. Or you could contact the local school and offer to mentor a brand new teacher who is feeling overwhelmed and about to quit. Think of the impact you could have. Are you that retired engineer? You're a problem solver. Maybe you can join a high school robotics team as a mentor, or volunteer with a group like Habitat for Humanity, using those amazing skills to help build a home for a family in need. Are you the retired accountant? You have no idea how many small non-profits, charities, or even new entrepreneurs in your town are desperate for someone to help them make sense of their books for just a few hours a month. To them, you would be a superhero. You see, this isn't busy work. This is taking your life's work and turning it into your life's legacy. It is the difference between feeling used up and feeling useful. And useful is a powerful, energizing, wonderful feeling. It is the #1 antidote to feeling invisible. This isn't about finding a new full-time job. It's about finding a new full-time mission. And that mission doesn't have to be 40 hours a week. It can be 5. It can be 10. It's about having a reason to get out of bed that pulls you, instead of an alarm clock that pushes you. And I know what some of you might be thinking. That all sounds great, but I wouldn't even know where to start. I've been out of the loop for a while. What if I'm not needed? What if I try and I fail? That voice, that's the voice of fear. It's the same voice that might have told you not to ask for that raise, or not to speak up in that meeting, or not to go for that promotion all those years ago. And it's just as wrong now as it was then. It's one thing to have these ideas. It's another thing to actually walk out the front door and do them. The world has changed. Maybe you feel a little disconnected, a little less confident than you used to be. How do you find these opportunities? How do you overcome that initial inertia, that fear of being the new person all over again? How do you reconnect? Well, that feeling, that fear of being the new person, is completely 100% normal. It can feel just like the first day of school, can't it? You're standing outside the door, and you're sure everyone inside already knows each other, and you're the only one who's going to be awkward. Let me tell you a secret. Everyone feels that way. The single biggest enemy of a happy retirement isn't a lack of money, and it's not even a lack of health. It's isolation. It's the world shrinking day by day until it's just you and the 4 walls of your living room. So, how do we fight that? We do it one small, brave step at a time. You don't have to walk into a giant room of strangers and announce, "Hello, I am here to find my purpose." That's too much pressure. Let's make the goal much, much smaller. Let's just make the goal to find one person. Start simple. Go to a place where people are. The library, a local coffee shop, the community centre. And here's the trick. Go at the same time 2 or 3 days a week. You'll start to see the same faces, That's how it begins. A simple nod, a smile, a comment about the weather. That's a connection. But the real magic key, the one that unlocks everything, is to use that I am list you made. Find a group of people who are already interested in what you are. Do you love to read? Join the book club at the library. Do you love to garden? I guarantee there is a local gardening club and they would be thrilled to have you. Do you love to play chess? There's a group playing in the park or at the community centre right now. Think about it. When you walk into that gardening club, you're not walking in as a retired person. You're walking in as a fellow gardener. You already have something in common. You're not a stranger. You're just a new friend they haven't met yet. Your passion, your interest. That becomes your social passport. It breaks the ice for you. And this is exactly how you find those bigger purpose-driven opportunities. You'll be having a cup of coffee after your gardening club meeting and you'll mention you used to be an accountant. And your new friend Sarah will say, "You're kidding. Our little non-profit is desperate for someone to look at our books. Would you be willing to just give us some advice?" And just like that, you're in. You're needed. You're contributing. You see, purpose and connection are not two separate things. They are deeply, deeply intertwined. It's hard to feel a sense of purpose when you're all alone. And it's hard to feel connected if you don't have a shared purpose. They feed each other. This is why the blue zones, those places in the world where people live the longest, healthiest, and happiest lives, all have one thing in common. It's not a special diet or a special exercise. It's community. It's deep, meaningful, social bonds. They are woven into the fabric of daily life. So please, make connection a priority. Make it an active goal, just as important as your finances or your physical health, because it is a part of your health. Now, there's one last very important thing we need to talk about. It's the part of this video's title that I put in there to give us all a little jolt. Before it's too late, I need to be very, very clear about this. I use that phrase to give you a sense of urgency, not a sense of despair. Because here is the real truth. As long as you are drawing breath, it is never too late. Our society has this toxic, pervasive, and utterly false idea that our value peaks at some point in midlife, and then it's just a long, slow, gentle decline into irrelevance. What a lie. What a complete and total waste of human potential. Colonel Sanders was in his 60s, broke, and living on a small social security check when he started franchising his chicken recipe. Anna Mary Robertson Moses, you probably know her as Grandma Moses, she started her serious painting career at 78. 78! I had a neighbour a few years back, a wonderful man named Frank. At 81, he decided he wanted to learn to play the violin. He was, and I say this with all the love in my heart, gleefully terrible. But his eyes would light up every single time he talked about his upcoming lesson. He wasn't trying to play in a symphony. He was just living. He was growing. Your purpose in this new chapter doesn't have to be some grand, earth-shattering mission. You don't have to start a new business or save the world. Your purpose can be simple. It can be quieter. Your purpose can be deciding that you are going to be the most present, engaged, and loving grandparent this world has ever seen. Your purpose can be mentoring one young person in your community and helping them find their way. Your purpose can be adopting a senior dog from the local shelter and giving it the warmest, safest, most loving last few years of its life. Your purpose can be mastering that new recipe, or finally planting that rose garden, or simply being the neighbour that everyone knows they can count on for a cup of sugar or a listening ear. Purpose is not a grand title. Purpose is just a reason. It's a reason to get out of bed in the morning that pulls you, rather than an alarm clock that pushes you. So, let's bring it all back. What have we talked about today? We've talked about acknowledging that retirement void is normal, and giving ourselves grace for that difficult transition. We've talked about that great identity heist, the way our jobs can trick us into thinking what we do is who we are. And we've talked about how to take our identity back with that powerful I am list. We've talked about building a new, flexible structure for your days, so your freedom doesn't just feel like an empty void. We've talked about filling that structure with two essential nutrients: growth, learning new things just for the joy of it, and contribution, giving your lifetime of wisdom and skill away to people who desperately need it. And finally, we've talked about how connection is the glue that holds it all together, and how to find it by leading with your passions. This is how you build a retirement that is not an end but a beginning. It's not a fading out, it's a new, vibrant colour. The terrifying truth about retirement isn't retirement itself. It's the belief that your best days are over. It's the belief that your contribution is done. And that is a belief that you have 100% of the power to change. This isn't a checklist you have to complete by tomorrow. It's a journey. It's a new adventure. And the most exciting part, you are the author. You get to write this entire chapter exactly the way you want. Please, just start with one small thing. Maybe it's just making that I am list. Maybe it's looking up one local club, one small step. That's all it takes to change your direction. And now, I want to hear from you. This is a community, and your wisdom is just as valuable as mine. In the comments below, I would love for you to share one thing. What is one I am on your list that has nothing to do with your old job? Or, if you've been retired for a while, what is one thing, big or small, that has given you a new sense of purpose? Let's all learn from each other. If this conversation was helpful to you today, if it made you feel a little less alone or a little more inspired, please take a moment to give this video a like. It truly does help other people find it. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. We have these kinds of conversations all the time, and I would be so honoured to have you as part of our community. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Remember, your best days are not behind you. They are right now, and they are ahead of you, just waiting for you to create them. Here's to finding your purpose at any and every age. You take good care.